Hi everybody, welcome back to my studio and welcome to Free Class Week. I'm Mary Rose Feldman and we are going to have some fun just doing some gentle tangling together. If you were here yesterday, I hope you enjoyed the title. If this is your first day of Free Class Week or your first time attending Free Class Week, thank you very much for being here. I'm happy to tangle with you. This is all about gentle tangling this week. Even though this is pre-recorded, nice gentle tangling in community a little bit, and I hope you make this your own and just adapt it to whatever you're feeling. But I hope it gives you some inspiration for new tangling and opportunities throughout the week. And for today, supplies are your choice. I'm going to tell you what I'm using, but they do not have to be Zentangle branded products. They do not have to be rough or smooth or anything like that. Make it your own. Find what you have in your studio, whatever you like to tangle with. Pens, papers, shading, anything like that. There's no judgment. You don't have to buy anything. Just grab what you like to use and we can get started. Today I'm going to use just a 3.5-inch square, traditional square. We're going to do a monotangle today. I love the tangle that we're playing with today, so I can't wait to share it with you. We will practice this one on a piece of paper, so have something that you can just play with the step outs as we go through. But first and foremost, we want to have a moment of gratitude. So let's go ahead and just sit nice and tall in your seat. Whatever feels comfortable for you in this moment of gratitude. If you need to pause and take longer, please do so. I am going to go at my own pace for the video. This moment of gratitude is just about reconnecting your senses. It's opening up our mindfulness session. And just gives us a chance to just be. No judgment. Any stresses or thoughts, just acknowledge them. No problem solving, no judgment. Just acknowledge that you're worried or tired and then let it float by. Today's affirmation: great strength lies within me at all times. Have a moment of gratitude. And then let's get started. There's the randomly pulled affirmation card, if you like to see them, from my affirmation deck. All right, and let's practice our tangle for today. So like I said earlier, I go at my own pace on these videos just to keep it a little bit shorter. You probably will have to pause at some points and tangle and then come back. Okay, we're doing Exact. Exact by Susan Yao. And Exact starts with a very large rice shape. So this is not tiny. Make this large. What you're going to do is look at the top point of your rice shape. You're going to start back just a little bit because we want a nice takeoff. You're going to continue that line and then C-curve down to the point. So when you continue this line, how far you go out is how far you want this channel to be, how wide you want it to be. Think of it as an aura. In fact, I haven't tried it like this, but you could probably aura first and then connect. For me, the flow goes better when you're continuing this rice shape line. Okay, and you can see how my aura is a little funkier there. But as you grow these auras, they do tether further and further higher. If you do a rice shape, let me just show you this. and you don't tether further and further. You go out and you come to the point. Notice how there's a gap all the way down to the point. And then you go out and you come down and you tether all the way down to the point. Do you see how this is growing wide? Not only is it growing in this direction, but it's growing wide this way. I personally don't want them to grow wide. I want them to stay more vertical on this. This is a great thing to play with, but if you're trying to do it the way that I'm going to show you on the tile and you're getting this, it's because you're tethering at the point only. Instead of, let me do it next to it so you can see. So here's my rice shape. I'm going to go out and I'm tethering, but I'm connecting higher than the point. And then when I go out again and I come down, I'm going to connect probably higher. So I'm looking at the total image that I want. And if I think I'm getting too skinny, then maybe I'll come down and connect a little bit lower. But I'm not trying to keep the space down here even, because that base is going to keep growing and I don't want it to keep growing. Okay, and that's exact. I keep putting a T on the end of it. All right. Now, what I did is, because this is a great shape to play with, it felt incomplete to me. So once I do 3 auras in that direction, I look at this outer band. So this is my addition to her tangle. This is the regular tangle, okay? I look at this outer band and I go in the opposite direction. So I take off here and then I come down. And I'll do 3 in that direction. So notice that one connected really high, which is fine. I just kind of let my hand work. So what that does is it takes this point and it kind of brings it back into alignment, and you have kind of a rice shape again. You may be sitting there and going, well, can't I make this huge rice shape first and then put the auras in? You may be able to do that. I did not play with it that way. I liked the flow of the 3 auras and then the 3 auras. And then another addition that I added is, in that original rice shape, I came in and I put in orbs. So this is the shape that we're going to do. And what we're also going to do is get rice shapes coming to a point. And this was in her step out also. She did several rice shapes coming to a point, auras to the right, and that's where she stopped. And then I also went to the left, which now is off the page. And then you can also do rice shape in between. Now this rice shape is drawn behind, but everything else you have to imagine. I even continue my pen for what part is drawn behind. Notice this needs to look like it all comes to this point. And if you're not paying attention to that, then it's going to look a little wonky. So that's the tangle pattern that we're going to do, and it is a monotangle. I normally would not show you the tile for this one. It's just a simple tangling monotangle, but you probably already saw it on the video heading. So I'll put it under here. We're just going to do rice shapes and then build them. Now the rice shapes I'm starting with are a little bit smaller in the center, and then I'm going to grow them larger as they grow out. But If you go large right from the beginning, it doesn't matter. It's a monotangle, it'll all be fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab a tile. Also notice that my first set is not centered. I liked something a little bit asymmetrical off center. So I'm going to look at my tile and I'm going to pick a dot. Just put a dot anywhere that you think you want that center to be. I'm going to switch back to my 05 pen. I'm going to come in and get my race shapes in first. So I'm going to do 4. This is more in line with what she does in her step out. She does 4 big rice shapes. And then I'm just going to follow the tangle pattern. I'm going to do 3 auras to the right, all the way down. And then I'm going to go to the other direction. And once I have those 4, then I'm going to build layer number 2. So remember, these rice shapes would typically come to the center, but we can't see them. We can't see that bottom point, is what I mean to say. Let go of that feeling of needing all of these auras to be evenly spaced and alike. It is more interesting when things have some energy to them, have some personality to them. Imperfections of your hand makes your tangling beautiful. And you might see me redrawing that line a lot when I do those auras. So when I'm coming on here and I'm doing the auras in the next direction, I'm back here taking off I'm not taking off on the point, I'm backed up and taking off beyond it. And every time I do that, that line gets a little darker. So it's automatically giving me a little bit of line weight in there. Okay, so there's my first flower-ish exact. I'm going to go ahead and add in my orbs and then color in the interstices. Interstices are just the little leftover spaces. I'm choosing to make these orbs separate. You can also choose to make them tuck one behind the other. Do the center one and then have the orbs to the right and to the left tuck behind. I like both ways. This one I just chose to do separate. Okay, so there's my first flower. So you have a choice at this point. Whenever you finish tangling and come back, you have a choice. You can do another full flower that is tucked behind, or you can just keep extending petals. So here's my original 4, then I did 4 in between, and then I started doing some in between that. It is up to you. I think I'm going to do one tucked behind here. This one is taking up more space than this one did, so we'll kind of see where this goes. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pick a dot. Maybe I'll make this one a little bit smaller. The key when you're doing something like this is you don't want this one to be left out by itself. You want to position this layered one so that it will tuck behind the first tangle pattern. If it doesn't tuck behind, it'll look like it's disconnected from any other tangling, and then you'll just have to add more tangling to connect it. No big deal. But usually I'm thinking of scale on these and how much they're going to overlap. So you can see I have one that's tucked behind right here. So what I'm going to do, because I don't know if any of it would peek out back here, so I'm assuming the peak of this right shape is right here. I'm going to air draw, and then air draw, and then air draw, and then I'm going to continue. So, and it's a guesstimate. But because I was able to put something behind, you have more layering there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get our orbs in. Okay, so for the purposes of the video, I'm going to keep it there. I have my main one and I have my small one. I want to go in and show you the other details of this and the shading. So I'm looking for my O1. I like my O1 pen for this rounding. And what we're going to do is at the top of these auras, similar to what we did if you did the first video yesterday, we're going to come into this inside curve and we're just going to round the top of each one of those auras. And same here, round So this is the inside curve. Just taking that little corner and making it not a sharp corner, making it a little softer of an edge. So if this is difficult, or if you don't have a pen to do this that's thin enough, remember you can also use an old pen. If it has a good enough tip on it, even though it's light, you want a delicate touch on this anyway. But if it's too tedious, or you just are getting globs, then just skip it. We're going to have shading in here. You'll have plenty of interest on this without this step. It's just a detail I like to show, time permitting. So usually for this type of rounding, I look at the inside curve. That's usually the side that I put the rounding on. Not always, but that's where I go first. Okay, so that's what we have. Pause if you need to. I know I keep repeating that, but I want to keep that fresh in your mind so you don't think I'm just rushing through this. I'm taking my time on my end. But like I said, I want to keep the video a little bit reasonable. Okay, so we're going to get our graphite, and we're going to do a simple variation of shading on this. Here's our one rice shape. Well, the rice shape with the R's to the right, R's to the left. We're going to look at the R's to the left, and we're going to go on the inside all the way down to the point, which ends up shading our orbs just a little bit. We're going to do that on all of the tangle pattern. Many different ways you could shade this. So if you have a different inspiration, feel free to go ahead and follow that thought. And then wherever you have overlap of your petals, like between the big flower and the little flower, I'm going to do a little shading right along that edge too. Like I said earlier, I do shading in 2 steps typically. This would be my base layer of shading, and my second layer would come in and do details, just like we tangle. We tangle the patterns, and then we come back in and we do rounding and shading and line weight and things like that. I do the same with shading. I usually do 2 steps, not more than that, depending on what I'm tangling. And when you approach shading in that way, in mini steps, you avoid over shading. It's very easy on some tangles to overshade and then everything becomes dark. Remember that you need to have lights and darks for successful, powerful shading. And then just with the graphite that's on my tortillon, I'm going to add just a little bit more graphite to the center where all the points meet. Okay, and the last thing I see on mine, so this one ended up being not so layered just because of the way I drew the rice shapes. All of the petals look like they're on the same level. Here, my 4 first petals look like they're on the top petal and level, and these second 4 petals look like they're behind. So I need to shade to drop those petals behind to make it further look like layers. My second flower didn't come out like that. So always look at your tile and see what your tile needs. Sometimes you'll get an instruction and you look at your tile and you think, well, that doesn't really apply. Then that's fine. Find a shading that applies to your tile. All right, and the only thing I'm going to add, I didn't add this on my main tile because it didn't seem to need it, but the border looks a little empty here, and usually when I have that white space, I'll come in and I'll just do a single line. So with pressure of my pen, I'm like moving it up and down to give me different widths of lines in there. I'm not trying to make this an evenly straight line. I'm just putting a little detail on here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add my chop. Really, really love this tangle. So much fun to play with. And I forgot to put this on the back of my tile. All right, there we go. Cute, cute tile. All right, so just shake out your hands. Moment of gratitude and a deep breath. All right. Thank you for tangling with me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow.